Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special episode of the Jurassic Mark podcast. We're going to be doing things a little differently this week. Unlike the previous episodes, we are not going to be talking about this week's movie this time. Instead, this is going to be more of a state of the podcast type podcast. I've decided that I'm going to be taking this in a slightly different direction, conceptually speaking. You see, when I originally started the podcast, the intention was to be able to talk more at length about movies, to give myself a space to ramble and include details that wouldn't fit into the written reviews on the blog for one reason or another, whether they were too minor to really give any attention to, or I just couldn't fit them in from a formatting standpoint. But basically, I've decided to change things up a little. You see, I was editing last week's episode of the podcast about Otto the Rhino, and I had that thought that I'm sure all content creators have at some point, and that is, why would anybody even listen to this? You know? And don't get me wrong, I had my fun recording that podcast. I hope everybody enjoyed it. But I will admit, it's not really my finest work. And I want to do work here that I can be totally 100% proud of. You know, this isn't a job, but I like what I do, and I want to be able to be proud of what I do. So I've decided to readjust things because this is all an exploratory process for me. I'm learning as I go, I'm seeing what works and what doesn't. So I want something that will more reflect my original goals and my original intentions, more of what I want the podcast to be, both for myself and for the blog as a whole. So instead of the podcast coming out weekly to be a companion piece to each of the written reviews, it's now going to be released monthly, acting as a sort of end-of-the-month wrap-up. I'm going to be able to touch on everything I covered in that past month, all the movies I watched, and this will give me more time to edit the podcasts, which I greatly underestimated how long that would take. So that'll lighten the load of my own schedule and make for better, less frantic content. Like I said, the last thing I want is for this to start feeling like work. This is a hobby for me, it's a hobby I enjoy, and I intend to keep enjoying it. So as long as I enjoy it, I think I'll be able to put out content that is worth consuming. It'll also allow me to delve into things that wouldn't work in the original podcast format. I can touch on things like any big headlines that happened over the past couple weeks, any big trailers that came out. Not necessarily doing trailer reactions, because God knows I hate those, but, you know, commenting on movie news and the like. It just presents way more possibilities from a creative standpoint for me, so I'm very excited to see what I can make of it. I'm also going to start uploading footage from my Twitch streams really, really soon, so stay tuned for that as well. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Believe me, big things are in the works. It's going to be a blast. As always, I really appreciate the support. I love doing what I do, and I hope you like it too. Until next time.